I think that Kirby Smart, Todd Monken, and company are trying to cater to a star in Athens on the offensive side of the football. And I don't know if that guy's name is Brock Bowers. Don't get me wrong, he is a superstar and one of the premier weapons of college football. But I think Georgia's working on having another star alongside him to catch balls from one of the quarterbacks, most likely Stetson Bennett. Someone that also scored a touchdown in the Orange Bowl and the National Championship, just like Brock Bowers, and made one of the most important catches in Georgia football history, one of the most important touchdowns in Georgia football history. That's A.D. Mitchell. Shot a few times in this book, DAWGSTRUCTION, that we made for you guys over the course of the season. That one's actually my shot. That first one was Dylan Weber's. DAWGSTRUCTION. Read all about A.D. Mitchell and the rest of Georgia Bulldogs' national championship run in 2021. Ryan Keller from Dog Post here. I think A.D. Mitchell is becoming a superstar in Athens, and I think that they are catering towards him. I got a chance to be at practice for a few minutes last week, and you can tell which coaches are giving which players extra attention. They are coaching them up. They have faith in them. You can kind of pick up on a few little things. One of those guys was Eric Gilbert, but someone that Kirby Smart was really after was Adonai Mitchell. They were doing punt coverage, and he was saying, everyone's going to run at practice if A.D. Mitchell can hit 19. They have high expectations. They wanted A.D. Mitchell to a certain miles per hour on the GPS, a certain speed on the GPS. They have high expectations for A.D. Mitchell, and he's not the speed guy. A.D. Mitchell's a shifty guy. I think that he could be. I think him and Brock Bowers as an offensive weapon tandem for the next 2 years, because at the end of the day, I think both of them are probably a 3-and-out college football player going to the draft. So let's say you have them for 2 more seasons. A.D. Mitchell, I really think, can be that superstar receiver that Georgia has been missing. They got flashes of that with George Pickens, but wasn't able to play most of this season. COVID made the season kind of weird. There was a quarterback carousel. So George Pickens' best season was his freshman year, right? A.D. Mitchell, I think he just get better and better. When did we see that first? When he was an under-the-radar recruit. Dean and I talked about this last week. A.D. Mitchell was this under-the-radar recruit. That's not some 4 or 5 star that everyone was like, oh, I have to have. But Georgia goes out and gets him. Kirby and staff, they go out and get A.D. Mitchell. He comes in. We talk about him a little bit. Oh, well, they got another weapon, but they had Jermaine Burton. They didn't know what Dominic Blaylock's future was. They had Arian Smith, Marcus Rosemary-Jackson, George Pickens, Kearis Jackson. Well, G-Day a year ago, so a little bit over a year ago, A.D. Mitchell comes in and has over 100 yards on a few catches and looks like a star catching balls from a couple quarterbacks. So he was kind of the shining moment of G-Day last year, and that translated. And so this spring, that's another topic for another day, and I'm going to do that for you closer to G-Days, who could have a really big G-Day. But that's not the point of this particular topic. What I'm saying is I think that the staff knows that there's something special with A.D. Mitchell and that he could be that superstar receiver. Don't get me wrong, George Pickens was a superstar receiver, and Brock Bowers is the best weapon in college football right now. But Georgia hasn't had the superstar receiver in a while, and I think that it could be A.D. Mitchell. Now, is that realistic? The problem with Georgia, and this is a great problem to have, is how many guys they have and the style of football they play. And especially if Stetson Bennett's the quarterback, they're not dropping back and throwing the ball 30, 45 times. They're, it's dink and dunk, and they're getting it out to a bunch of guys. So you're not going to have these crazy stat lines. Brock Bowers having the 882 yards and 13 touchdowns was not something that happens at Georgia a lot. A.D. Mitchell comes as a freshman. 4th in receiving, 426 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think he's special, guys. I think he's shifty. I think he can go up to get the ball. I think he has good size. We've seen him do kind of everything. We've seen him be a part of trick plays, and we've seen him succeed with multiple quarterbacks. He's caught deep balls from both Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels, and I think that whoever's starting this year, and it's probably going to be Stetson Bennett, is just going to continue to have that connection. But it looks like to me in practice and in what we're hearing that A.D. Mitchell is that number 1 guy for Georgia. Jermaine Burton's gone. George Pickens is gone. Brock Bowers is hurt right now. So right now, A.D. Mitchell is the guy that the quarterbacks are throwing balls to. He's that guy. I think A.D. Mitchell is going to be that guy. And I think that he can have a really special year. He has less competition now. He's seen as the top dog in that wide receiver room for the most part. You know, Dominic Blaylock's. We don't know what we're gonna get from Dominic Blaylock. We kind of know what we get from Karis Jackson. It'll be interesting to see if Ladd McConkey can have a better season than he did last year. That's kind of where we're at. Rosemary Jackson, Aaron Smith, everyone's been injury prone. A.D. Mitchell in his 1 year stayed on the field and played really well. That's where we're at, and I think he has a chance to be one of Georgia's superstars this year. They have so many superstars, but I think A.D. Mitchell can be that guy on the offense outside of Brock Bowers. DawgPost.com, DAWGSTRUCTION. Make sure you go on the site and check everything out.